While every single productivity guru is telling you to use the Pomodoro technique, he's giving you all these action steps, but none of them work for you. There's a secret flow state hack that, when applied, allows you to go from someone who can't focus at all to being able to focus for 6+ hours every single day on your business so you can make more money. And it literally releases 7 of the best brain chemicals in your brain so you can focus on your work with literally no resistance at all. And while this method is very dark and you've probably never heard it before, the good news is there's only 2 stages involved in this process, and you can literally focus straight away after this video. You see, there's quite a dark stage you have to go to actually enter this flow state. You need to experience a bitter struggle at the start. And if you do not believe me right now, I totally understand, because this does sound super strange. But just think to the time you had that exam and you hadn't studied for it. You know, it's the night before and you're just completely locked in because, you know, you've got to complete all this revision, you have to complete all the studying ready for tomorrow's exam. I guarantee you weren't losing focus or scrolling on YouTube at that time. And this is exactly why you need to experience some kind of risk, fear, or some kind of struggle at the start to enter a flow state. And this is why 90% of entrepreneurs cannot enter a flow state. It's simply because when they experience that struggle, they grow into coping mechanisms, they go to YouTube, they get distracted. But if you simply just grab your balls and just go through that struggle, that is actually how you focus. This is exactly how you can experience this optimal experience called flow for hours on end in a day. Because once you experience the struggle phase, your brain realizes, okay, this task is actually pretty hard, but we have the skills to actually do it. You just have to give it 5 or 10 minutes for your brain to process the task you're doing. Because really, all the mental resistance is at the start of the task. It's like, you know, the first 5 seconds. But as soon as you start speaking to the camera when you're recording a video, or as soon as you start outreaching or recording ads or something, whatever you have to do in your business, it starts to actually become interesting and you start to enjoy it, right? And this is one of the flow state triggers. It's the biggest one and my favorite one. It's called the challenge to skill ratio. You see, the challenge of a task should always be a bit above your current skill level, because when it does that, it engages your brain. It engages your brain to use the skills you have and think and strategize about what you need to do. Because if you think to a video game, if it's too easy for us, we're just gonna quit, bro. We're gonna get bored. But if it's too hard, we're gonna get overwhelmed and we won't actually complete the video game, right? So the first thing you have to do is go through the struggle phase and just realize the fear you face, the risk you face, the uncertainty of you completing a task is your compass. It's a thing that allows you to get into a flow state, okay? You do not run away from this. Now the second stage is something called the recovery stage. Now the recovery stage is basically when you allow your brain to rest, because I'll be honest, staying in a flow state for an hour, 2 hours at once is very difficult. And this is because the neural chemicals inside your brain, the ones I talked about at the start, with like the 7 of the most potent brain chemicals being released during flow, are super expensive for the brain. So you're going to be super tired after like 2 hours of deep work, right? But here's the kicker though. If you do not enter this recovery stage, you do not enter the stall stage either. Instead, you kind of just procrastinate. You don't complete any work. And this is why so many people work for 2 hours a day on a business and don't do any more. Even though they still think they should, they've still got tasks to do, they just don't do any more. And this is a point I want to really drill into the head, because I know a lot of people struggle with this problem. And it's, you know, transitioning into tasks. Because I guarantee the problem you're facing right now isn't to do with your focus, it's to do with transitioning between your tasks. You know, the first task you always do is super easy, you know, you're super focused during it. But as soon as you finish that, you don't know what to do. So you don't transition to the next one, you just procrastinate and you don't complete any of the work. But it was also a bigger requirement that you need to even consider entering these 2 stages, and it is simply to have deep concentration. One of the biggest requirements for entering a flow and staying in a flow, obviously, is deep concentration, because as soon as your thoughts get averted, as soon as your actions get averted, you have to reset and you have to go through the stages once again. And this is why, especially for entrepreneurs watching this, you need to schedule uninterrupted focus times where you can't get distracted. And this is why you see a lot of the top entrepreneurs wake up at 4 a.m, you know, 5 a.m, and complete like 4 hours of work and get basically all of their work done as soon as they wake up. Because not only will the other people inside your house be asleep, so you can't get distracted by them, but in the morning is when you have the most focus and you can, you know, allocate a lot of your mental resources to the flow state. And when you complete all your work by 8 a.m, imagine, just imagine for a second, bro, you're an entrepreneur, you complete all your work by 8 a.m and you have the rest of the day to do something else. So just realize, if you do want to enter these and actually even consider entering these 2 stages to begin with, you need to make sure you have deep concentration. And if you struggle to focus, I've made countless videos. But once you have this requirement, you can basically enter these 2 stages pretty easily. You can go through the struggle phase where you face some kind of risk or challenge and it causes you to enter a flow state. But the thing is, what happens to most people is as soon as they finish the first task or their first deep work block, they never get back to work on the entire day. As soon as they enter the break, they go and scroll, they go and watch a movie, they go and do other things that they aren't meant to be doing. And this is what I felt so long, and it capped my work hours for like 2 hours, 3 hours every single day. And it was simply because I didn't do these two things during my breaks. And these two things were breathing exercises and exercise. And I know this is going to sound super strange, but first, breath work, and specifically the focus breath work, is designed to put you ready for that next stage of the flow state, which is the short stage. Even if it's just for like 3 to 5 minutes, it really does help you and gets you into that mental state and the same frequency as the flow state. And I know you probably pulled your face when I said exercise, like you complete a deep work session and then you have to do 50 push-ups, right? That's not what I'm saying. Any form of exercise releases something called endorphins in the brain. And I'm not really sure about why this works, but when you release endorphins, something happens in the brain that causes you to have more energy and then in turn more resources to allocate to the tasks. So instead of when you take a break for like 5 minutes or something, do not go on your phone. Simply do focus breath work so you can enter the recovery stage, or do 5 minutes of physical exercise, and that will really help you with the energy required to enter the flow state. So to summarize, to actually enter a flow state, you need to go through 2 stages, which is the struggle stage, facing some kind of risk or fear or challenge in the task. And once you've gone through the struggle phase and you've actually allocated your skills to the task, there will be fireworks inside your brain, and the brain chemicals will cause you to really enjoy the work so you can get into a flow state. After that, it's all about the recovery, because these brain chemicals take up a lot of mental resources. So you have to recover, you have to go through focused breath work, you have to do 5 minutes of physical exercise so you can get more energy to actually enter this flow state again. And to actually enter the flow state, you need to have deep concentration every single time, otherwise it's going to be super hard and you will never actually get into a flow state. Okay, this is my DART method to get into a flow state, because most people do not talk about the struggle phase. They talk about the good things like, you know, what you get out of the task or something, but really you need to make sure you enter the struggle phase. And by the way, if you're an entrepreneur who wants to get into a flow state for 6+ hours every single day, completely change your business, make more money, have more free time to spend with your loved ones and whatever you want to do in the day, and also have peak performance when you're working, click the first link in the description and the second link in the description to, one, get into my free community where I can help you there, and also the second one, get a free coaching call with me. Goodbye, have an amazing day. You're going to run into face again. Goodbye.